Alright guys, so we have done the basics of socket programming. Today I thought of doing some uh, bit of programming. Uh, so yes, things are getting recorded. So programming using Python. So the next step is to go into the Python programming, and then probably we'll move into C programming. Alright, so right. Uh, alright, okay. All right, so we start with a basic socket program. So this program is basically the client server program, which we normally do, right? So last lecture also we explained like how the socket communication works. So let me start with the basic Python code. So I'm using Visual Studio Code. Uh, yes, and you also can use the same, or you can use uh, any other uh, related IDE, like okay. Uh, all right. So I will create a file now, which I'm going to name this as uh, Echo Server. So this is what basically this program does is it basically echoes a message from the client side to the server side. So basically, client basically get it echoed. So basically, that's what we are doing. So it's a very simple programming model. So I will name this as echo dash server py. So meaning it's a Python program. So once you do that, if you need any Python extensions, there's no pip install, so install pip as well. But please make sure that if you have any issues of that, you to install pip, and Python 3 would be the best thing. So okay, so I think I'm running Python 2.7, but I have Python 3 as well. Okay, anyway, so better to have Python 3. So if you want, I think you can run the same command in this way, Python. So this way. Yeah, so I have Python 3.7.7 as well. So if you want to initiate Python 3, so make sure you use the command Python 3. So that will do. All right. So we are going to start. So it's writing your Python code. So try the bash. So I'm going to say I'm going to use the Python. Yeah. So that will be the interpreter. Then I'm going to use this socket library. Yeah, so that's the major library which I'm going to use here. And basically the plan is to create a socket at the server side, uh, and then server should be created with that socket, and the socket should have IPv4 and basically TCP, and then so basically uh, we'll have that basically we'll have a socket created, right? Socket created. So for that we use a socket function, right? So that's function that we're using, and then I think we have to call the bind function. So we have to bind the socket, right? We have to bind the socket with the proper IP uh, and a port, right? So which you have to do, and then so once the socket is bind, so then the next step is to we have to have a listening socket. So for that also we had to use a listen function. For the previous one we had to use the bind function. So this is available in Python as well as C. bind. All right, so that's good. So once you do that, so in the server we have these four major functions called socket, and the bind, and the listen, and then you have to wait in a block mode uh, until you get a connection from the client side. So we have to have a, so you have to in the blocking mode. It's like blocking mode. So the function that we use in socket programming is the accept function. So accept is a blocking function. So we'll talk about those details more later on. So then obviously the next step is to basically you have to wait, and you have to send and receive data. So that's the next step. All right, so this is what we are going to write. This is like the skeleton code of the logic. So we're going to try our best to write this up. So for that we'll be using first, of course, we have to create the socket. So I would say socket. So so then we have to use AF-INET. So if you use AF-INET 6, so that's IPv6. So we use AF-INET, right? And then we have to say that this is IPv6, sorry, TCP. So we have few options. We say socket, or sock diagram, row, and we have stream as well. So we have to use TCP. So that will basically create a socket, right? So you have to have a reference with that also. So we'll have create the reference in Python in this way. So we'll name it as S or my socket or something, right? Okay. Yeah, that would do. Okay. So okay, now what we have to do is we have to call the bind function, right? So for bind, unfortunately it doesn't show the variables or the parameters we have to pass. So basically we have to pass the IP and the port. So we have to start the IP and the port. Okay, so that's what we have to insert. All right. Okay. So we need to have the IP address defined and the port. All right. So what we can do, the IP we can define it as a variable. So I will define the IP. So basically, I can give the IP from the machine, or I can simply this program I'll try to make it more simpler. Then we go for advanced setups. So so this can be the loopback for the moment, or we can get it from other ways as well. All right. So we have set the loopback IP address, or you can get the real IP address, like I said. So we should 127.0.0.1. Then I will put the port. So port can be one of those ephemeral ports. So select a port which is basically greater than 1023. So these are non-privileged ports, right? You should not use any privileged ports like 23, 21. So those are out of our range. Ports which are ports which are from 1023 above, right? So you can select any other ports. So don't use like port like 8000, because some of these things are used again for the search and all that. So but anyway, you're fine with that. I'll use 8090 for fun. All right. So we'll see if there's any trouble comes in later on. Right. So now my bind is done. Okay. So bind done. Right. Then I need to listen. So I need to listen now on that same socket. Right. So then I need to basically call the accept. So yeah, sorry. So ideally this should be the comment. So hope this is okay for you guys. All right, then listen. So make sure the comments are there in the right places. Right. So then the accept call. So again, calling my socket. So I'm calling accept, but accept returns two values. So first is a connection and then an address. All right. So I need these two values because from these I'm not going to access all the other relevant information. So yeah, so that's fine. Okay, the accept is done. So then I need to write the code to send and receive data, right? So if you want, you can have print statements also. I'm not going to put them in because it'll be too much of content. So then what I need to do, I'm going to work with the connection, and then so best thing is I can say who get connected. So we make a connect here, print here, connected by. So probably you can get the IP address or the person, or sorry, of the machine which got connected. So that is done, and then we have to send and receive data. All right. So we'll write a while. So all this goes in a loop. So we can say while true. All right. And then we are going to use the connection object, right? And there we need to call the receiver. So this particular point we are assuming that we are getting data sent by the client. Okay. Okay. So the only concern here is the amount of data we are going to receive, right? So if you want, you can say amount of data. So you can, if you want, you can define it somewhere. Amount of data. Yeah. So that can be let's say 64 bytes. So that's what we require. So that will read that amount of bytes. All right. So and that should get returned to the object variable. We say data. So why we are doing that? Because we are going to do some error checkings, right? So we'll run if condition. If not data, we'll say to break. Okay. Otherwise, to the connection, we are going to send data. Okay. Send over data. So basically echoing back. So the same data set will be echoed back. All right. So that's the quick piece of code. So I'll make sure that these codes are available for you to look at and write your own coding. Yeah, I think everything is covered. So going back from the beginning, we had a socket that be imported, then the IP address, port, amount of data. This can be even higher, right? 64, even 1024. We'll look at the theory part later on. Okay, so there can be some interesting things also, like say when you talk about networking security, so there can be some interesting things to think about the amount of data that we are sending and receiving. Okay. So now we have the socket function created, and then the bind, then the listen, then the accept, and then we have the code to send and receive data. Right? So basically this one basically gets the same data which you received, same thing get pushed back. So that's we call, so this is basically echoing back. So this is why it's called echo server. Echo server. So it's echo back. So if you want, you can write your own data. You can write a print statement or anything. Okay, so now so we have written our server code, quite cool, right? So which I'm going to run. I can run it from here also. So it will come here in the terminal, or else for the sake of running it in my own terminal. Okay, I'm going to do. I'm going here to my terminal and move to directory. Okay, so I have my core server. So I need to run this. So I told you this having some particular elements which needs Python 3. So I'm going to run it with Python 3 echo server. So I did, there's no errors. It should start running. Okay, there's a small issue it seems. Okay, we'll come back to that a bit later on. All right, that's fine, that's fine. So, but anyway, it gets compiled without any error. All right, so I checked my code. There was a small issue where I had to use two brackets here. So that's the only change that I've done. So then I'll save this code and then I will go to the prompt, right? Then I can run the code. So I'm going to use Python 3. Python 3 and echo server. Right, okay, that's a small issue now because I have already run this program, so the binder is already in use. So what I have to do, so I use this particular port, right? I will change the port to 0092 and save this code and rerun the code again. Okay. Okay, fine. So basically the server is running up and running. So now what I had to do, so I can even check netstat. So I can see this is running on 8092. Just give me a second, guys. All right, back in action. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another window, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a netstat minus NA, and I'll do a grep on 8092. Yes, so you can see my server is listening. See, so I did grep because if I don't do that, I get a long list, so I won't be able to find where's my root. So I did this, so you can see it's a TCP, and it's running on 127.0.0.1, 8092, and it's in the listening state. Everything is fine. Right. So now my Echo server is up and running. So I might have to quickly run the write the Echo client program. So let me start a program, and okay, then I need to save this as Echo client. Okay, so I'm going to name it as Echo client and that. Okay, that's cool. So now let me write the Echo client code. Echo client, basically the same stuff, right? Bit of a difference is there. So we'll try to write the skeleton. right? So again, we need the basic stuff. We need to create the so I also recommends you to write the skeleton or the logic first. So in the socket created, the socket function should be used as previous, so I don't have to write the whole thing again. And then I need the here there's no bind needed because you're not listening, so listening is not also needed, no accept is needed, just you have to connect, right? Connect. So you have a function called connect. So remember, C functions are also same, right? So C also these same functions are there, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a copy from here, so I'm going to use this part, so I don't need to write that again. And okay, I need the same thing here. Okay, I will use all this again. Alright, so port is this on 10001, that's also fine. And then I need to create the socket, so that's also it's the same, almost the same. So I will take this part. Alright, so I need this part. I'll take this as it is. No harm. Yeah. So I have to use my socket. Now here, there you don't need any, like I said, no bind, no listen needed. So you're going to connect, again, I'll use two brackets. I need the IP and the port. Alright, so that part is clear. So then it knows how to create a socket connection. Again, okay, I need to send data now. So I'm using the function send all. Alright, so the send all function, I'm going to print some characters here. Hello from oops, hello from set. Okay, that's done. And then so that's the message that we'll be sending. So this is the same thing that should get back, right? So I would have a data point and say socket, okay, dot, and I'm using the function receive. Oh, sorry, I don't think there's any problem. Yeah, so we say AMT data. That's the size. All right, so once I receive that, I can say print whatever I received. Received, uh, received with thanks. All right, received with thanks, and so we need to use this function. All right, and what we have is the data, right? So that will print everything. All right, things looks okay. So let me save this. Alright, so the connect, yes, the connect is here. You can see the connect is here. So everything looks fine. Alright, so now let me save this code again. Alright, and then I'm going to, yeah, so basically I can use, so the server is still up and running. So I'm in here, so I will move to Python socket function, and I'm going to now run the client code, right? So now see what's going to happen. So my server is in the left hand side, and okay, I have my client code, so I'm going to still run with Python 3, and everything goes fine. All right, so everything worked pretty fine. So you can see, so I connected to the server and all right, hold on. So the server side message is a bit irrelevant, maybe address. All right, so it's okay. So that's the server. That's the client socket, right? That's the client socket. So this socket is the client socket. So that's all fine. So let us run it again and see whether it's the same socket it's going to create. No, it's a different one. See, you understand? So it's all fine. See, we'll run it again and connect from this side. It's a different one. So all cool. So I hope you got the idea now. Right. So this is called the Echo client server. So this is our client, right? So let me so determine preferences. So client, I can change the color of client. So that's all right. Okay. Oh, that's a new one. Anyway, it's okay. We'll use it later. So this is my client, and so this is the server, and this is the response. Hello from state. All right. It's great, right? So that is our first program, Python program, writing or using sockets. So next one would be a bit detailed, and we'll go detailed into like how to elaborate this program more, right? So that's our second version of Echo client and server. So the important things to consider here is the function usage, right? So this is the server. So we basically starts with the IP and the port, and then we create the socket, right? So when you create the socket function, and we use AFINET as the IP or the routing protocol, and then this TCP is the transport protocol. So you know how the stack works. And then I use these two addresses, port and IP, and then I create the bind. So basically, bind is connecting all these details to the socket, and then I'm listening in the socket, and then I'm waiting. So it's a blocking function on the accept, and then the socket is created, waiting for data. So you get the data, receive your data, and then you are sending it back. So that's what the Echo client server is doing. We can play with this a bit. Let me check to repeat this data. Something like this: hello 2 from and hello 3 from it. Let's see what's happening. I'm going to save this because I changed on the client code. I run the server. Maybe wait. Okay, let's see how it works. Yeah, the first one it goes out. So yeah, so that's something that you can do, like how to modify this, where you'll have iteratively it takes this data. Yeah. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, we'll do this. Let's try with this a bit. I don't think there won't be any problems. Okay. Let's saving on our server. Then, oops. Okay, we have a small issue. Unexpected indentation. All right. We'll do it this way. So what I want you to do is like play with your code, then you will learn a lot of things with it. Huh? Okay, save the code. Service up and running. Client code. Oops, that's perfect. So you get all your echoes back. Right. So try this out, and then I will take you to the next one. Thank you, guys.